Ready to go?
Yeah, we got our quorum.
We have a quorum?
You there, Bill? Mr. Burnett?
All right.
There he is.
There he is.
Everybody here? Let's call to order the Patton Township Planning Commission for October 3rd. And our first item on the agenda would be the approval of our minutes from September. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the September minutes for the Planning Commission.
Very good. And we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? So moved. Item 3, public comments. Do we have anybody online or in person who would like to bring up anything that is not on the agenda this afternoon? Okay, doesn't look like it. Which, moving along, takes us to item number 4, which is just the development for J&C Market. Anything we
You're
want
on the
to...
wrong agenda.
Wrong one.
I thought
That's
I
from the
found one.
minutes.
Thank you. I actually looked at it a few minutes ago. There we go. Item 4, the correct agenda. So this is our request for zoning changes to the Toff Tree Resort. Does anyone want to tee us up on that?
I can do that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Partnership at Toff Trees Resort is asking for 2 changes to the Toff Trees Plan Community Regulations. The first change is an increase in units from 4,690 to 4,740. That's 50 units per 1,237 acres on the Toff Trees Master Plan. That equates to 3.79 units per acre, currently, to 3.83 units per acre. And number 2 is an increase in the building height for the new resort from 50 feet currently permitted to 75 feet. The partnership presented these requests to the Board of Supervisors at their September 28th meeting, and the board remanded this item back to the Planning Commission for consideration. In your packet, you will find this map that was provided showing all of the State College Friends properties. The parcel in question is the one with my cursor on it. It's approximately 107 acres. This is the letter from the partnership that was put in the board agenda, asking for the changes that I already outlined. The planned community regulations showing the 2 items in question, they're highlighted, and the renderings from the developer, which they will go over. Before the developer gives their presentation, though, I wanted to state that the main items to consider for tonight are, do you agree with these changes? How can we apply these changes so as not to impact the remainder of Toff Trees Plan Community? And what information can we provide at the staff level to assist with answering these questions? So I'll pass that over.
Very good.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I'm Bob Poole, and I'm one of the partners of State College Friends, and State College Friends is the owner of the Toff Trees Resort. And with me is Tony Fructo-Pantera, who's the engineer on the project. And as Alex said, we're asking for 2 changes tonight, and we're asking it only for, the request is only for the resort itself, just the Toff Trees Resort, which Alex was describing, not the Toff Trees Plan Community, which is the 1,200-something acres. So we're just asking for a portion of that, and I'll go over the reasons why. So the first change we're asking for is to allow a building height of 75 feet, calculated per your ordinance, versus the current allowed height of 50 feet. And what we're looking to do, and I think most people have been out there, the resort is older. It goes way back to, I guess, the 70s. Yeah, it's probably 50, 60 years old. And what we're looking at doing is a high-end resort. Right now, it would probably be what's considered a Marriott Autograph Collection, which is a high-end. And we see this as not just an attraction to the region here, but also to a destination place for anybody in the country. And we have, I think, about 750,000, I think, Penn State alumni. And we see this as a really opportunity for when they come back to come back as a destination. The current schematic plan, which I'll show you in a second, shows 154 keys and over 160,000 square feet. To give you a little comparison, when you guys approved the Mountain Indian Medical Center medical office building, that's 130,000 square feet. So this is about 30,000 square feet larger than the hospital plan. The estimated cost, and this is only estimated right now, is probably somewhere between $50 and $60 million, which will obviously be a major investment for our partnership in the township. Currently, and you might have seen that, but we've also already made a multi-million-dollar investment. We're installing a new irrigation system and a new drainage system for Top Trees, the golf course itself. And this investment here, it's only going to enhance what's considered one of the best golf courses, public golf courses in Pennsylvania. And I'll take a minute to review the slides. And Alex, if you'd help me again on that one. So this let's see if I can adjust this. I'll do it like this. And again, these are schematics, but we've spent an extensive amount of time with a very, very highly regarded international architectural firm. And this schematic here is just kind of give you an idea of, out here is this thing working? Make sure I get this right. There it is. Okay. It keeps blinking out on me. But the top, down at the bottom is where Top Trees, where you enter into Top Trees currently right now, and you'll go up to, oh, good. Thanks, Tony. So you'll come up the road as you do now into an arrival court, and on this side here, and on the next side, we'll show what this looks like. But the idea behind this here is to have all great views out onto the golf course, and obviously the parking will be here. Alex, if you can go to the next one. This gives you a better idea of what it'll look like. So there's rooms here. This is the kitchen areas. One of the key factors that's important to this site here, and the reason why we're asking for the 75 feet, you see there's a wedding lawn, event lawn, social lawn. On a high-end resort, you have to provide, as you see, the pools here, the spas here, these type of amenities. We do a lot of weddings currently, and we think we can actually double that. It's really nice when you look out there. So part of what we're asking for is the 75 feet. If you expand out rather than up, as we all know, you start to have more issues. You have a stormwater management. The impervious coverage is different. Also access for the rooms as you enter through. The convenience of coming down and be able to get to the pool, the spa, without walking for half a mile to get there means a lot for the success of it. An additional big part of it is that the cost. The further you stretch out, the more labor you need to be able to accomplish the amenities that are within the facility. Maybe we can go through a couple more, Alex. And what this is doing here, this is showing just a little bit, taking an individual area like the front, the portico and showing we're probably going to have a water type feature and what it'll look like from a distance. Same here, this is the pool, just to show this is just some conceptual ideas of what we would do. This is a seating area. It's hard to see this right now. It's a seating area for the center courtyard. And as I mentioned, we do a lot of weddings now. We'd like to enhance that we turn a lot of weddings away that we think we can provide. And the nice thing about this, a lot of the weddings and people that come here are from out of town, so they're actually bringing dollars into our area, not internal dollars, in most cases external, which is good. Um, Let me see what the next one is. This one's difficult to see. This is the elevation coming in, and part of this, I'll show you why on the height. If we can go to the next one and skip that one. This is an elevation. This is a golf elevation, so this is looking from the resort out into the golf course. And down here would be where the golf shop and golf cart and other areas would be, overlay the golf. This would be this is the front elevation, what you would see when you come up into the facility. And you can see the difference, and we might have another elevation in there to show the height of what we're, thanks, Alex. You can see here we're 71, 57, 70. Where we exceeded is in the back, but the back is the one, if remember when I said it, is the one that purely faces out towards the golf course. The other reason for it is the topography going from front to back. From the front to the back here is the drop off in the elevation.
Sorry,
Okay, this is just some 3D type elevations to show you, give you an idea what it would look like. It's not just a straight facility. Same there. This is the back again. That's the golf, looking out to the golf course. The architects are working on it, but you can see we're looking at the exterior is going to look very attractive. It's a stone-clad type. Same here, hardy plank, which it's that cement type board, stone facade, and also the slate type roof. Again, this will be a very high-end hotel. And this is just a couple renderings again to look at it. So if you really the point behind it is for the benefits that I've stated, and the 75 feet, if you think of top trees, it won't even be noticeable. You don't even know it exists. And again, we're only asking for it for the resort itself. If you look at the size of it, if we didn't have some height to it, it would not be a very attractive facility. The second change, which we're asking for, is the increase of 50 units for the project. And Alex had said that there's 4,690 now. If you think of the density, mentioned that going from 3.79 to 3.83. In today's, in almost all areas that we build in currently, it's easy to have 4 or 5 as far as the density. In fact, the one in Ferguson Township right now, I think it's 7 or 8. So the density is not that dense to begin with. And part of the reason we're asking is that the land surrounding the resort, which is what we call like Top Trees West and even Top Trees East, right now that's owned by 3 different ownership groups. When I put this together back when, there was 2 owners, and the 2 owners had never been developed because they were struggling on what they wanted to do or how to do it together. And I was able to put the group together. But the 3 owners are not a common owner to the resort, so no one is willing to give up their units to provide it to the resort. And also, the one thing that would help us, the 50 units would also help us to create some excess revenue so we can reduce the entire cost of the project. I think everyone's aware that the cost currently, material cost, labor cost, and even delivery has gone up significantly. So, and then when you add to it what's occurred, I think most people relate to mortgages. Mortgages went from actually under 3 or 3, I think it's now 6.5. It's very, very expensive. So obviously debt service, we will not be able to do this project just on pure equity. We'll have to borrow against it also. And the increase of the debt service has been significant. The other thing that helps us is that the additional 50 units allows us, winter time in State College is pretty tough. It's not a place where most people come to. We'd like to be able to generate some of that, but the extra 50 units will be people who can go and use the restaurant, the facilities and all, and help offset some of the cost. And we talked about this lastly, and I think Alex actually, when she said that it really represents 1% of the total we have now, and really will be exclusive to the resort. And so that's the two changes that we're requesting for the Planning Commission to consider. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Bob, you had started by mentioning, can you explain, so Marriott has certain tiers of resorts. So it currently is what tier, and when this project's done, then is it one of their top tiers?
Yes. So they have a lot. The problem is now they've merged so much. I think recently we just found out, I think they have like 30 different levels. This would be not as high. Renaissance, if you've seen a Renaissance, are extremely high. It'd be very similar. From a resort standpoint, the Autograph is near the top.
And right now, I guess our most luxurious accommodations in State College, what would you consider that to be currently?
It would be the Carnegie House, but that's a boutique. It has 20 rooms. This would have, right now it's showing 154. And also the Carnegie House, it wouldn't be considered a resort. It's a boutique place to stay and have fun and all. And the dining is phenomenal, but it's not a resort. The nice thing about Top Tree is we have a beautiful golf course, which adds to the value.
Yeah. And then the current resort, the plan would be to be completely demolished then, or what happens to the current resort?
No, we would demolish the entire site.
And it looks like this building would be projected to be almost in the same vicinity, same place?
Yes.
Anyone have any questions? Jim?
Well, a couple things as far as, one of my questions was, is it going to be a total demo, which you say it is? What happens to the poor golfers in the meantime? You're going to close the whole course down?
No, the nice thing about it, the course, so what we'll do, we'll have, you'll have like, you see like a little mobile home type thing and all where the staff will operate at. Now, the course will be open the whole time. As I said, actually now, we're right now spending, I tell you, multi-million-dollars for the irrigation and also the golf course will stay open. And we won't interfere with that because you're correct, Brian, the resort will be kind of where it is now. It's a great view from there up. The other advantage that's really nice about the height from a personal standpoint and people visiting there, as you do get higher, there's phenomenal views looking down across that pond and across the course.
Another question, I guess for Mark, Alex, or Doug. The way I read code, as far as height goes, it's the average. You're 14 foot lower in the back end. So really what you're showing is 70 from the front and 84 from the back. Should be considered 77. So if you leave it as is, shouldn't you be asking for a higher height?
Well, no, Jim, and I appreciate it. It's a good question. I'm relying 100%, if Tony messes this up, I'm just kidding. I'm relying on Tony that he's worked with Nicole, and I think, and all, to make sure that, because that's, I really appreciate the question. I asked that question 1,000 times so far. I'd like to hear his answer.
Yes, you're correct. It is the average of the building height. However, the entire building encompasses this wing of the building here. So essentially, the only part of the building that would be over the 75 feet is this 84 right here. This is below, this is below, this is below, and this is below. I think technically we could add in this part also. It's all part of the building, and if you take the average, but if you use essentially the hotel part of the building, which is these, the average grade line is less than the 75 feet.
Okay, my next question is, refresh me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's anything that says anything about the overall area of the building. It's just maximum height.
No, it's a weighted average, like Tony
Weighted
described,
average?
yes.
Okay. That's one.
No, I asked that multiple times, I appreciate it.
Another question that I had, it's early, I know this isn't, it's just sketch plans and whatever, but on your grading sheet, looks like you're gonna have another entrance road coming in.
The new entrance road.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You
want me to talk?
Yeah, go ahead,
So-
yeah, we applied.
the partnership approached the Board of Supervisors back in, was it August?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have entered into, we are working with them, and we have applied for 2 grants with the state of Pennsylvania. One's called a redevelopment, something. There's one, it's a grant that's similar to what we got for the sports center out on Burnell Road. RACP is RACP
Yep.
is the initial, and the R stands for redevelopment. But the state does make some funding available for redevelopment projects like this that have a regional draw that will bring, have some economic development. So we've applied for a $2 million economic development grant for the resort. So that'll help them with their costs for the resort. I think they're mostly using it for demo and site work.
Correct.
And then we've also applied for another 2.1 or $2 million. The total amount was moving around a little bit for improvements to Tofttrees Avenue and to build a new entrance road to their site. So the new main entrance, there'd be a new main entrance that would go up the hill about in the middle of the site. And I think their intent is to keep the old entrance in as a truck entrance, more or less. And then that, including that 2.2 million is other work along Tofttrees Avenue, including sidewalk from Wattle Road up the hill, and drainage improvements, and then improvements to the crossing where the Bellefonte Central Rail Trail is. Upgrade of that crossing to include flashing beacons and new signs and a median in the middle to make it a much safer crossing.
And the golf carts?
Eventually, we're gonna tie the golf cart crossing into that. We tried to do it with this grant, but it got kicked back, so we're on a plan B or C for that. But
Yeah.
what we ultimately wanna do is do one crossing there at where the Bellefonte Central Rail crosses, and do both golf carts and bikes and pedestrians all in one location. That would be the safest alternative.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things, and Doug's right, it's really to enhance the area there and make it safer and all.
So
that
we're
stuff.
working with them on those issues too, so, I mean, were there other specific questions about the entrance road? Because Tony's the expert on that too.
Anyone else from on Zoom have any other questions?
Yeah, I can see with Bill or Rich. No? Okay.
I guess on a different note, so it's a Saturday night, I'm at the hotel and I want to go to the ale house. Is the way to get there still going to be just the sidewalks that are in place? Am I right?
There will be no shortcut, if that was your ask.
Yeah.
It would be just the sidewalks on Tofttrees Avenue and then down Cricklewood.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
They still walk across the golf courses every day.
Okay.
Well, at night, you probably could without anybody bothering you.
Yeah, that's right.
Bring your own lights.
Yeah.
Planning Commission, do we have any other comments?
Yeah, so tonight, if you got other questions, if other information you'd like to bring back, I mean, the board just referred this last week, so staff hasn't had a chance to do any sort of analysis or anything like that, so we wanted to get it in front of you to see what questions you have, what other information you want.
And Brian, I would always say, my ask would be, if you don't have any, we'd love to see you refer it to the supervisors. I had to say that, Doug. No, I think, you're right, the staff hasn't looked at it. There's not a lot to this, but we'd appreciate that.
Bill has his hand up now.
Bill, go ahead.
So this is a question to staff. What's your first read on this? I know that you guys haven't torn into this yet, but what's your first read? What's your first thought about this?
Nicole's smiling. You want to say anything, Nicole?
Well, I mean, let me jump in.
Sure.
I mean, although Bob says they want to reserve it just to the resort, if you do make a change, then other people are gonna want, there may be other requests, and they'll say the same thing, they want it just for their project, so, it's not it's not completely an isolated issue, so the things that we will look at doing is I think from staff's point of view, is if you want to go ahead with this, we craft it so, it only applies narrowly to things. One thing, especially, we would look at, you get this height limit, this new height limit, if you have a property that includes a golf course. That might be one way to do it. There may be other ways to do it, but we haven't even really thought about it. So those are the type of things. We haven't done any increase in units, dwelling units in Patton or in Toft Trees. Well, we never done. The last time we made a change was probably 15, 18 years ago when we did a reduction.
Yeah, I think there was
At that
like
point.
1,100 less, actually.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I didn't get a chance to go back and look,
Yeah.
but, so, again, I mean, as Bob said, all the units, the 4,690, are currently divvied up to all the parcels within Toft Trees. So if you point to any current parcel that exists, that has a separate ownership on it, there'll be a certain number of units that are assigned to that parcel. So there really aren't, and to move those around is an internal discussion that Bob would have to have between the several ownership groups. And our assumption from staff is that those changes wouldn't be made at zero cost. So you can read into that what you want. So, is 50 a lot? No, it's not a lot when you're talking about 4,700 units, but it is 50 more.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, I think, when we look at this
So
plan.
I don't know that we, staff at this point, I think is gonna give you some options that you can look at, and ultimately, I think this is primarily policy decisions. Again, it's a slight increase in density. 3 or 4 units to an acre doesn't sound much, but you have to remember that there's a 30% open space requirement. So those 4 units now go on less than an acre, 7/10 of an acre. So the ultimate density is a little higher than that. When we made the changes to the density and all those things in Toft Trees, we ran a lot of mathematical models to see, what can we do in terms of density. We want a mix of units. We want single-family units. We want multifamily units. We want townhouses. We want a whole mix of different types of units. And where the numbers are today, they work pretty well for that. Can you add a few units without breaking the model? Yeah. But can you add 300 or 400 more if you wanted to do that eventually? I don't know.
I guess.
The other
Okay.
thing is that,
The
and
nice,
Bob's gonna, are there things that the township would like to get back in this?
I was
nice
just
thing-
about to ask
What-
that
yeah.
question. What is it that we might want, Mr. Poole to sort of do? And I'm going to throw out
Yeah,
there, I'm always about the dark light initiatives of reducing the amount of light pollution. I know that Bob, you and I have talked about this with the hospital once on, it's the same thing that I'm going to say, hey, since you're tearing down, redoing this, are you guys going to be reducing the amount of light pollution, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera on this?
Yeah, I wanted, you guys can't see it, but I gave to Brian and Jim, and I got you guys are sharing it. When we're talking about why on the units, remember, we're only asking again for 50 on Top Trees Resort. So the other 46, remember, the other 4,690 are going to be there no matter what. You'll just have an empty space there on the resort. So it doesn't add to any other area except for the actual resort itself because it was never allocated any. And that's the issue. And you look at this, the green is owned by one owner, the white is owned by another owner, the blue is another owner, and a little orange, which is Top Trees Resort, is another one. What I would offer is, it's a really good question, well, which is what can we offer? Here's what I think, and you think about it. We have a resort that's now goes back to 1970, which people have said, even staying there, wow, this thing's kind of beat up, it's kind of old. You're going to have something in Patton Township is going to recruit people to stay there from all over, who's going to spend a lot of money in the township and in the region, and that's going to produce a much greater return and value to the people here than anything else you could even get close to that I could even afford to give you. First thing, this is not an easy project. There's no projects out there today that are easy. Material costs, everyone you know has gone crazy. Labor, you can't find labor anywhere. And last is delivery is a problem. So it's taken longer to build any product you build. That's also very costly. So as we're $30 million into this project and the interest rate is clicking and we can't get done 3 months earlier because we don't have the availability, that's expensive. And so that's why I think you'll see a lot of people, we're all concerned about a recession. We are also. So I think the biggest thing that we're going to bring to this, if you look at something, is a resort right now where we're getting sometimes $80, $90, $100 for a room, because that's all you if someone will pay there, to now getting $300, $350, spending money in the township. So I think that's what we're bringing. We're bringing something that you can ride up there and be proud as heck on. We're also bringing to it, when Doug talked about it, these grants that we're getting is a benefit to both sides. We're enhancing the area. So I think that's where we're at. It's a good question, but I think we're bringing a lot of value that I think the township would be very proud of.
So Doug, really quick, what's our hotel excise tax, room excise tax for Patton Township? Do we have one?
No, the county has a hotel tax that goes and supports the Visitors and Convention Bureau, and then they also pay sales tax, but we don't get any direct revenue.
Okay, so we don't have
we get revenue because they're gonna put $50 to $60 million into a new building.
Yes.
And site that will get real estate taxes on, but we don't get a pillow tax.
Yeah, and example is when Top Trees doesn't produce the revenue because people won't stay there as often or spend the money, what we do, as you know, we go back in and ask the tax to not only be increased, but to be reduced because there's no value. And that's happened. And Doug
I'm just gonna look that up and see what the current
yeah. So if you have
implied market value is.
yeah. So if you have a facility that's successful, now you get more tax. And the other thing you get in this area, you're still going to get increased values. When you put a resort in, like we're talking about, the surrounding area, Village of Penn State, whatever, is going to increase in value, without question.
Well, and also the plan that's in place is from the 70s.
It is, yeah.
And so I think we are foolish as a community to think that the developers aren't going to need to go upward to be able to cash flow a development that was approved, 50 years ago.
So, and I don't know if you're familiar with how taxes are calculated, but anyhow. So there's an assessed value, and then you have to use a ratio to change that to today's fair market value, and that ratio is right around 4 right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So currently, the current implied market value is somewhere between 4 and 5 million.
Correct.
Yeah.
Versus 50 to 60.
So Doug, if the planning commission wanted to put a motion on the table, that is not our intent today, is that
We're
what
not
your
ready.
thoughts are?
We're not
Well,
ready to do that.
I don't think we have, if you're in favor of it, we'd like to hear, what we need to do is craft some actual language that changes what's on these to something that works for Bob and works for the township.
What I was suggesting is, in that language, if we could tag that along to the association with the golf course, then I don't feel like we're setting any precedents at all in the township.
Well, it's very unlikely we're gonna get a second
Right,
golf
Jim?
course in Toftree, so.
Yeah, the
You know,
other
We wanted to
thing,
make it unique to this property
Yeah.
and not have it be a broad brush everywhere. In the township, I think the way to do that is to use the golf course.
Yeah, lacking, another brilliant idea that we might have, that would probably be the best approach.
and we did that in another township over at the Corning plant where they created, that we have a lot of different uses there, and they created other areas you could do it if you met that criteria, which, the same thing, golf course, et cetera. The other thing that's nice about that, we did this way back when, even though it's a planned community, the Toftree ordinance stands alone as only Toftree. So even though we have Grays Woods, the Toftree ordinance doesn't apply to Grays Woods. It's still a planned community, but the ordinance is different, which is a big thing. It's a big difference.
You got three planned communities in Patton Township.
Right,
You're correct,
Yeah,
Jim,
yeah, and they each have their own regulations.
correct.
Question on the 50 units. They're going to be on the so-called golf course property?
Correct.
They're going to be single-family detached homes, townhouses, or what? What's your plan?
That we do not know, we do not know that answer yet, Jim. We haven't even designed it.
Next question would be, looking at the golf course property, where are you going to put 50 units?
Oh, good question. It won't be following along the golf course. Well, it could be on number 11, but basically it'll be on the same. I think if you look at the resort itself where it sits, it's about 20 to 22 acres. It would be on that part of the property. But you could do it along 11, where it goes down. You could do there. But that's good. The rest of the golf course, it would not be on there. It would be either near, it would be close to the resort or on the same property. I think it's 20 or 22 acres where the resort is. Would be there.
So it would be down in this area where my cursor is.
Yeah, can you blow that up?
Yes. Yep, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So it'll be like just above or below the rail trail there? Is that
Yes.
what you're thinking?
Correct. Yeah, probably be, some areas maybe below, above. I'm trying to think, I know where it runs them exactly, but probably be above.
Okay. Alex Gregory actually looked
Yeah.
at doing something in
Yeah,
there about
he-
20 years ago.
He had a plan, if you remember, he had a plan that put apartments in there, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea, I think it uses the property and like I said, is it a must that we can't do? No, but it sure does help. Helps a lot.
Yeah, the other thing we need to do is make sure we've notified the neighborhood and let people in the Toftree area know that this is coming about, so there'll be some mailings that'll go out between now and the next planning commission meeting also.
Then when it goes back to the board, there has to be a public hearing.
Yes.
The whole process.
Yeah, so the public obviously will know about it because of the public hearing, we have to do one.
Yeah, well, we'll do notices out
Yeah.
and say, hey, these
Yeah.
things are being talked about, if you're interested, please join us.
Very good. Planning Commission, any other comments? It doesn't look like it. Very good. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
everybody.
back to the staff.
Okay, guys, item number 5, College Township Pedestrian Facilities Master Plan. Alex, do you want to lead us in that?
Actually, Mark Bokel is going to talk about this.
Okay.
He's on the Zoom call.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so College Township provided a copy of their proposed pedestrian facility master plan to all of the center region municipalities and to the county for review and comment. So in addition to the master plan, they also included in the memo that was sent to the township a copy of an ordinance that they're proposing to more or less implement a lot of the recommendations that are found here in the plan. So what we were doing this evening, I'm just going to provide you with a very basic overview of what's in this plan, but ultimately, if you as commission members are interested, you can go and review the electronic version of the plan through the link that they provided. It's an ArcGIS story map, so it's pretty easy to utilize, and they have an online survey that's linked to it for you to provide your comment. What they did with this master plan is they went through and basically tried to find where they have gaps in their system and where they're looking to hopefully in the future avoid waiver requests and actually see some better connectivity throughout the township. I think from my understanding and speaking with their planner, they've had a fair number of waiver requests over the years, primarily because there was nothing to connect to. And that's obviously a problem that creates itself. If you don't start building a network, you won't have that connectivity. Probably, one of the things they did was they looked at trying to identify kind of like a road system, like an arterial sidewalk and a collector and feeder sidewalks to kind of complete the network. I think what might be of most interest to Patton Township and just things to consider is College Township is looking at adopting a pedestrian facility fee in lieu as a means of trying to capture some funds to build these facilities in situations where perhaps a developer does not want to install them themselves. Maybe the facility that would be required on their property per the ordinance would be either difficult to install due to the distance required, or perhaps there's topography or things like that might make it difficult. And if it's not a crucial part of their network, there's a fee in lieu component that would allow the developer to pay that fee to the township, much like your parkland fee in lieu, and then use that money to work on pedestrian facilities elsewhere in the community where they are needed. So that's something that has been kind of gaining popularity here in Pennsylvania in the last couple of years, where more communities are taking advantage of that. So otherwise, there's some just basic, I think, recommendations on how they're going to prioritize waiver requests and things. But I'd encourage you as commission members to take a look at the story map that was linked in the agenda and provide any comments back to College Township if you have any.
Mark, is there anything we should be looking at? I mean, what prompted College Township to want to explore this?
I think a lot of it was the fact that they've had a fair number of waiver requests over the years, and it's difficult to sometimes know whether or not to really recommend those waivers be approved. And just in general, trying to improve their, pedestrian and bicycle facilities in the township is something that the elected officials have put a value on. So a couple years ago, they did a sidewalk master plan, and then that played into this overall pedestrian facilities master plan. But I think just in general, I think Patton Township has a very good, sidewalk network from my understanding, at least the parts of the township I've frequented. But I know in College Township, it's in older parts of the community too. You have Lamont and places like that where it's more difficult to get these facilities installed after the fact. So that's something I know they're also trying to figure out how to do that whenever they have other roadway improvements.
Yeah, Mark, I can appreciate that. I always feel like with College Township, because it was developed earlier, that it was, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on connectivity when we developed East College. And I tend to think of that when we're thinking about things in Patton Township, that eventually, it all does tie in. Okay. Anything more on that? If not, we'll take us to item 6, the pending status on pending items.
At the September 14th Board of Supervisors meeting, they conditionally approved J&C Market. And that is the end of the status report.
Any other business, planning commission members? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Need a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
A second? All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thanks.